My loving audience take my love and subscribes my channel. And dive B&B stories. Can you even imagine living your entire life thinking your father just didn't want you? That he walked away before you were even born because you weren't worth sticking around for? Well, that is the heavy, heartbreaking weight Dylan has been carrying around for years. But everything we thought we knew about her past just went up in flames. The latest turn of events on The Bold and the Beautiful has completely flipped the script, and honestly, the fallout is going to be massive. It all started in Ridge's office, a place where so many Forrester secrets usually go to die. But this time, a truth was born that is going to rewrite history. Darcy finally looked her daughter in the eye and dropped the kind of bombshell that changes a person's DNA. Not literally, of course, but it certainly changes how everyone in Los Angeles looks at this girl. She didn't just give her a name. She gave her a legacy that carries more weight than almost any other in the fashion world. She looked at Dylan and said, "His name is Thorne Forrester." Just think about that for a second. Thorne Forrester, the man who has spent his whole life trying to find his own footing in a family that often treated him like an afterthought, has a secret daughter. Why is this happening now? Why did Darcy wait until Dylan was already in the middle of the Forrester and Spencer drama to finally come clean? If you look at Darcy's face when she tells Ridge and Dylan the truth, you don't see a woman who is happy to be sharing news. You see someone who looks absolutely terrified, like she's just opened a door she can never close again. She explains that she and Thorne were close during a difficult time in his life many years ago. Now, if you're a longtime fan, you know Thorne has had plenty of those difficult times. He's always been the one living in Ridge's shadow, fighting for love, fighting for respect, and fighting for a seat at the table. It makes perfect sense that in one of those low moments, he would find comfort in someone like Darcy. But Darcy's next confession is the one that really stings. She never told him. She let Dylan grow up believing she was rejected when, in reality, Thorne didn't even know she existed. From a psychological perspective, this is just devastating for a young woman like Dylan. She's built her whole identity around a lie. She's been bitter and angry, thinking her father didn't care enough to find her. When she laughs bitterly in Ridge's office, it's not because she's happy, it's because the sheer irony of the situation is too much to bear. She's been looking for a father she thought hated her, only to find out she's part of one of the most powerful families in the world. Darcy claims she hid the pregnancy because things had changed by the time she found out, and she didn't want Dylan to be a part of a family war. But is that really a good enough reason to steal a father from a child and a child from a father? In my opinion, Darcy's choice was incredibly selfish, even if she tries to wrap it in the packaging of protection. The reason Darcy finally broke her silence is where things get really suspicious. She didn't just wake up one day and decide to be honest. She received an unmarked envelope. Inside was an old photo of her and Thorne with a note that said, "She deserves to know who she is." This means someone else has been holding on to this secret for a long time. Someone has been watching Darcy, watching Dylan, and waiting for the exact right moment to set this explosion off. Who would do that? Who benefits from Thorne Forrester having a new heir suddenly appear in Los Angeles? Steffi was the first one to point out that this claim needs proof, and honestly, you can't blame her for being skeptical. Steffi has spent her whole life protecting the Forrester name, and she knows better than anyone that people will do anything to get a piece of that fortune. But here is the really interesting part that some fans have already picked up on. If Dylan is Thorne's biological daughter, she is a true Forrester by blood. Think about the history here. Ridge is biologically a Marone, which means his children, including Steffi and Thomas, don't actually have Forrester blood in their veins. But Thorne? Thorne is the biological son of Eric and Stephanie. If the DNA test confirms Dylan is his, she has a stronger biological claim to the Forrester name than the people currently running the company. Can you imagine the power struggle that could cause? If Thorne decides to come back and fight for his daughter's place in the company, the rivalry between him and Ridge is going to reach a whole new level of intensity. The scene where Brooke offers Dylan comfort is actually quite moving because Brooke knows Thorne better than almost anyone. She was married to him, she's loved him, and she's fought with him. When she tells Dylan that Thorne is a good man, who deeply values family, she's giving Dylan a piece of the truth her mother kept from her for 20 years. It's a moment where Dylan realizes that the monster she created in her head isn't real. But that realization comes with a massive amount of rage toward Darcy. Dylan realizes that her mother didn't just protect her. She robbed her of a life she was entitled to. Then there's Eric. Eric Forrester is a man who has seen so much loss in his family. He lost his daughter Allie, and his relationship with Thorne has been strained for years. When he welcomes Dylan into the Forrester estate and shows her the family album, you can see how much he wants this to be true. He tells her, "If you are Thorne's daughter, you are my granddaughter." For Eric, this isn't just about business or bloodlines. It's about redemption. He wants a second chance to be the grandfather he couldn't be for Thorne's other child. But he's also a realist. He knows they need that DNA test because the Forresters have been burned far too many times by people claiming to be family. But while the family is trying to process all of this, something much darker is happening in the background. Ridge tried to contact Thorne, only to find out that someone has been intercepting Thorne's messages. This is a massive red flag. It means that whoever sent Darcy that photo isn't just a concerned friend. They are a strategist. They are controlling the flow of information to ensure Thorne finds out on their timeline, not Ridge's. And then Darcy starts getting those terrifying texts. "You should have kept quiet, and Thorne must never know." This goes way beyond a simple family drama. This is a conspiracy. Someone is willing to threaten Darcy to keep this secret buried. But they were too late. Thorne's arrival in Los Angeles was everything we hoped it would be. He didn't just walk through the door. He burst into Darcy's hotel room with a photo of Dylan on his phone. Someone had messaged him and told him to ask Darcy why his daughter grew up without him. The look on his face, older, more guarded, but filled with so much pain, was heart-wrenching. When he asked, "My daughter," you could hear decades of lost time in his voice. He's a man who has lost so much: wives, children, his place in the sun, and suddenly he's being told he has a daughter who has been living a lie because of the woman he once cared for. Darcy's sobbing excuse that she was scared didn't hold any weight with him, and honestly, why should it? He has every right to be furious that he missed her birthdays, her first days of school, and her broken hearts. The first meeting between Thorne and Dylan at the Forrester estate was a masterclass in emotional storytelling. They just stared at each other for a long time, trying to find the similarities in their faces. Dylan, who has been so tough and defensive, finally broke down when Thorne told her there was no world where he would have chosen to miss her life. That is the one thing every child who feels abandoned needs to hear. That it wasn't their fault, and that they were wanted. When they finally stepped into each other's arms, it felt like a new chapter was starting. But we all know that in a soap opera, a hug is usually just the calm before a much bigger storm. Outside the house, that storm is literally sitting in a parked car. A mysterious figure was watching the windows, watching the family reunite, and making a phone call. "They're together," they said. And the voice on the other end answered, "Then we have a bigger problem." This is the part that should have everyone on the edge of their seats. Who is so invested in Thorne and Dylan being apart that their reunion is considered a problem? Is it an old enemy of Thorne's? Is it someone from Darcy's past who truly did threaten her? Or is it someone inside the family who doesn't want a new biological Forrester heir to mess up their plans for the company? Let's talk about the corporate side of this for a minute because it's a total mess. RJ is currently pushing Elektra to be the face of the new youth line. He's trying to build his own legacy, but he's basically using Elektra as his muse, which we've seen Forrester men do for decades. Elektra is already feeling like an imposter, and she's been incredibly hostile toward Dylan because of her connection to Will Spencer. But if Dylan is confirmed as a Forrester, Elektra's whole world is going to implode. She's been treating Dylan like a gold digger and a social climber, only to find out Dylan is her cousin and has a better claim to the Forrester name than almost anyone else in the room. The irony here is just delicious. And what about Will Spencer? He and Dylan have been getting closer, much to the annoyance of his mother, Katie. Katie has been acting like a total Forrester lately, being vicious to Dylan and trying to protect Will from what she thinks is a bad influence. If Dylan is Thorne's daughter, Katie is going to have to eat a lot of humble pie. Thorne and Katie were married not that long ago, and they fought a massive legal battle together against Bill Spencer for custody of Will. If Dylan is Thorne's child, she is Will's cousin. This creates a whole new dynamic between the Forresters and the Spencers. Bill Spencer, who has always had a complicated relationship with Thorne, is now looking at a situation where his son is falling for a girl who is a biological Forrester. I also can't help but think about Sheila Carter. She is currently on a plane to Monaco, and she is a woman who thrives on family chaos. If Sheila finds out that Thorne has a secret daughter, she is absolutely going to try to use that to her advantage. Sheila's whole goal in life is to prove that the Forresters are just as evil and messy as she is. A secret child hidden for 20 years because of threats and family wars is exactly the kind of ammunition Sheila loves. I wouldn't be surprised if Sheila tries to align herself with Darcy or Dylan just to stick it to Brooke and Ridge. The psychological layers here are so deep. You have Darcy, who is motivated by fear and a need for control. You have Thorne, who is motivated by a desperate need for the family he was denied. You have Dylan, who is navigating the trauma of a stolen identity. And you have the rest of the Forresters, who are motivated by the need to protect their legacy. It's a perfect storm of conflicting emotions. Darcy's claim that she was scared of the family is such a fascinating insight into how people on the outside view the Forresters. They see them as this dangerous, all-consuming entity that will destroy anyone who doesn't fit the mold. And honestly, looking at their history, she might not be entirely wrong. But the big question remains: who is the mystery figure in the car? If I had to guess, I'd say it's someone we haven't seen in a long time. Maybe someone from Thorne's difficult time, who has a massive grudge. Or maybe it's someone connected to Darcy's past. The fact that they are intercepting Thorne's messages suggests they have a lot of technological resources. This isn't just a random stalker. This is someone with power. They want to control the Forrester legacy just as much as Stephanie ever did, but for much more sinister reasons. I predict that the DNA test is going to be the next big flashpoint. Someone is definitely going to try to tamper with those results. If Dylan is proven to be a Forrester, it changes the corporate structure of Forrester Creations forever. If someone wants to prevent that, they have to make sure that test comes back negative. Thorne is going to have to fight harder than he ever has before to protect his daughter from the very family war Darcy was so afraid of. And Darcy? She is still hiding something. I don't think she's told the whole truth about who threatened her. She's still looking toward the door like she expects someone to come through and finish what they started 20 years ago. This storyline is breathing new life into the show because it brings back Thorne, a character who has been underused for way too long. Windsor Harmon is back in the role, and he brings so much heart to Thorne's pain. The fans have missed him, and seeing him get a front-burner story that involves a biological heir is exactly what the character deserves. It also sets up a massive generational shift. Dylan isn't just another newcomer. She is the future of the Forrester bloodline. Whether she becomes a hero or a villain in this family war is going to depend on how Thorne and Eric handle the fallout of this revelation. Does Dylan's bloodline give her a real claim to Forrester? Have you ever stopped to wonder if a name really means anything when the blood running through your veins tells a completely different story? We have watched the Forrester family rule the fashion world of Los Angeles for decades. They carry themselves like royalty. They act like their name is a sacred title. But what if I told you the entire foundation of that empire is built on a biological mistake that is finally about to blow up? This isn't just about a secret child. This is about a bloodline revolution that could strip the crown away from Steffi Forrester and hand it to a girl who was living in her car just a few weeks ago. The latest bombshell on The Bold and the Beautiful has left everyone reeling, and honestly, the fallout is going to rewrite the history of this show. Darcy finally looked her daughter Dylan in the eye and said the words that changed everything. His name is Thorne Forrester. Let that sink in for a second. Thorne Forrester. The man who spent his whole life being treated like a second-class citizen in his own family actually has a biological heir. And the crazy part? This girl has more right to the Forrester throne than almost anyone else in that building. Think about the situation Dylan has been in. She's been struggling. She's been working double shifts at the bikini bar and at Forrester. She's been homeless. All that time she thought her father simply didn't want her. She grew up with this heavy bitterness, thinking he walked away because she wasn't good enough. But in Ridge's office, the truth finally came out. Darcy looked absolutely terrified. She wasn't happy to share this news. She looked like a woman who had been cornered by a ghost. She explained that she and Thorne were close during a difficult time in his life many years ago. If you've been a fan for a while, you know Thorne has had more than his fair share of those times. He's always been the one stuck in Ridge's shadow. He's the one who fought for love and respect but usually ended up with the short end of the stick. It makes total sense that he would find comfort in someone like Darcy during one of those low points. But Darcy's next move was the real betrayal. She never told him. She let Dylan believe she was rejected when Thorne didn't even know he had a daughter. Can you even imagine the psychological damage that does to a person? Dylan's reaction was a mix of shock and pure rage. When she laughed bitterly in that office, it wasn't because she was glad to be a Forrester. It was because her whole life had been a lie. She realized that the monster she created in her head wasn't real. But the mother standing in front of her was the one who actually stole her identity. Darcy claimed she hid the pregnancy because things had changed, and she didn't want Dylan to be part of a family war. But let's be real here. Is that a good enough excuse to rob a father of 20 years of his child's life? I don't think so. In my opinion, Darcy was being incredibly selfish. She chose her own fear over her daughter's right to know who she was. She says she wanted to protect the legacy. But who was she really protecting? Was she protecting Dylan? Or was she just protecting herself from the intense pressure of the Forrester family? The funny thing is that the truth didn't just come out because Darcy felt guilty. She received an unmarked envelope. Inside was an old photo of her and Thorne with a note that said, "She deserves to know who she is." This is the part that should have you on the edge of your seat. Someone else has known this secret for 20 years. Someone has been watching them. Someone waited until the exact moment Dylan was getting close to the Spencers and Forresters to set off this bomb. Who would do that? Who benefits from Thorne having a new heir suddenly show up in LA? Steffi was the first one to jump in and demand a DNA test. She was cold and skeptical. Honestly, can you blame her? Steffi has spent her whole life guarding that family name like a hawk. She knows people will do anything for a piece of the Forrester fortune. But I think Steffi's reaction is also about fear. She's smart. She knows exactly what this bloodline means. Here is the part that is going to cause a massive debate among fans. If Dylan is Thorne's biological daughter, she is a true Forrester by blood. Think about the history of the show. We all know that Rich Forrester is biologically a Marone. He's the son of Massimo Marone, not Eric. That means Ridge's kids, Steffi, Thomas, and RJ, don't actually have Forrester blood in them. They have the name, they have the legal standing, but they aren't Eric's biological grandchildren. But Thorne? Thorne is the biological son of Eric and Stephanie. If Dylan is his, she carries the actual DNA of the man who started the whole company. This creates a psychological nightmare for Steffi. How can she look down on Dylan as an outsider when Dylan is the one who actually belongs to the bloodline? It's a delicious bit of irony that the writers are finally leaning into. The scene where Brooke offered Dylan comfort was actually pretty touching. Brooke and Thorne have a very long, very complicated history. They were married. They loved each other. Brooke saw Thorne at his best and his worst. When she tells Dylan that Thorne is a good man, who deeply values family, she's giving her something her mother never could. A reason to be proud of her father. It's a moment of clarity for Dylan, but it also fuels her anger. She realizes that while she was looking at Thorne's picture in magazines as a fan, she should have been there in the room with him. Eric's reaction was just as powerful. He's a man who has lost so much. He lost his daughter Allie. He's had a strained relationship with Thorne for years. When he welcomes Dylan and shows her the family album, you can see how much he wants this to be true. He's looking for redemption. He wants a second chance to be the grandfather he couldn't be for Thorne's other children. He even told her, "If you are Thorne's daughter, you are my granddaughter." That's a huge statement before a DNA test is even finished. So what do you guys think? Do you believe Darcy's story about the threats? Or do you think she's just trying to cover up her own mistakes? And who do you think is in that parked car watching the family? I want to hear all your wildest theories in the comments. Is it a returning villain? Is it someone brand new? Let's get a debate going. And if you want to stay updated on every single twist and turn in this Forrester explosion, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're going to be tracking the DNA results and the mystery figure every step of the way. Don't forget to like the video if you're happy to see Thorne back where he belongs. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And I'll see you in the next one for more bold and beautiful drama.